Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast, where we're all about helping you cut the tie to all that holds you back. The excuses, the fears, the people, that sense of entitlement. Cut the ties so you can unleash your inner entrepreneur. Your host, Thomas Helfrich, is on a mission to make more entrepreneurs in the world and make them better at entrepreneurship.
Hey, welcome back to Never Been Promoted. I am going to make a prediction. By the end of this episode, you're going to want to do one of a few things. One, you're going to want to grow a mustache. Two, you're going to want to buy a bike. And I mean not a bike, like a Harley type of kind of bike. And we'll discuss what type of bike you're going to buy. And three, you're going to want to put some cool shit on it. Like you're going to want to get some art on it. And at the end of that, you're going to be like, and I'm going to leave my corporate job, and you'll have a whole way of thinking. Because today is it's going to be a great conversation with David Letterfly, Knoderer. I cannot do his last name without doing some kind of variant of this, but Letterfly is the word you're going to remember today, Letterfly. Today's episode is not brought to you by Letterfly, letterfly.com. If you want your bike to look awesome and kick ass, go to letterfly.com. If you don't want it to look kick ass, don't go there. They didn't sponsor the show today, but if they did, it would be letterfly.com. Okay, they did. It doesn't matter. Letterfly.com. Do you see how many times I said that? I'm going to bring Dave on right away here. Right after we get through this, my mission is really clear. I want to help you as an entrepreneur get better at entrepreneurship. To do that, you're going to have to you got to be able to unleash who it is inside of you want to become. And to do that, you have to cut the tie to all this kind of shit and crap and stuff you hang on to that you don't need to. Let it go. Get out there. Stop making excuses. Stop having fears. You get one life to live. Go run something over. Don't swerve if the Armadillo is in your way. Hit it. It's gonna be better for your bike and you. I don't know. There's two types of riders, right, Dave? Let's bring Dave on. Two types of riders: those that have gone down and those that will. Which one are you?
I guess I am one that will.
You have not. You've never fallen off a bike?
Not yet. No. I'm very fortunate.
Only person in the world I've met that's not had a bike and not laid it down at least once. You were blessed. Dave, thanks for coming on. Dave Letterfly, listen, so you do striping on bikes. That's your job. But you also do a bunch of speaking about, life and living your best interesting life you can and how to deal with tragedy and loss. You have a book. I'm so excited to have this conversation because you're such an interesting person, at least on paper and on, probably, and I'm just in real life too. Do you want to be a minute to introduce yourself and kind of, who it is you are and give us a little background on you?
I'll be happy to. I started life growing up in the Midwest in a relatively frustrating family situation due to an older brother that had a weird condition. And I ended up processing that frustration and coming up with the solution for me. And that was to run away and join the circus. So I played the drums and I ended up falling in love with training animals. This was back in the 70s and traveling all over the United States. And then whenever I morphed into a creative artist, starting as a sign painter and then becoming a mural artist that put airbrushed murals on motorhomes, I continued to combine what I learned traveling around on the circus. And my career has taken me all over most of North America. And I'm still doing it today.
I love the fact that you are somebody who has actually joined and you ran away and joined a circus. Like that is a movie beginning. And today, you have a book, the name of your book, it's Hit the Road and Thrive. Is that right?
I got a book for all the listeners. It's called Hit the Road and Thrive. And it's available because I just want to help people. What I've done, I was actually encouraged by one of my customers who said, Dave, you are living the dream, traveling around the country, making people happy with what you do. Everybody envies you. You should write a book on how you do that. So this is kind of it's kind of a guidebook for somebody who wants to combine their business with traveling around and being of service to people in all sorts of being on an adventure is what it's all about.
Yeah, no, it is. You're And what you're doing for, like, you said you had a really good career of striping bikes. So this is where you explain what it is a little bit. So everyone listening is on the same page of what it is you're doing.
What it is that I do. I've been manipulating paint by hand my whole career. And the specialty niche that I've developed for the last 2 decades has been what they call pinstriping. But I'm not limited to just pinstriping because of the extensive amount of creativity I've done in the past. I actually do custom work of all kinds. Any sort of pictorial image or lettering inscription or even gold leaf gilding that my customers want to have to make their motorcycle distinct from all the rest of them, I'm able to produce. I'm one of those guys that whenever I'm invited to consider doing something I've never done before, I'm the guy that says, yeah, I could do that for you.
How do you, when you do like a hand, is there like a sprayer coat? I've always wondered to keep it from chipping off. Like, how do you keep it stick?
Nothing is really necessary over the pinstriping and the lettering and the pictorials that I put on a motorcycle by hand with a brush for a couple of reasons. One of them is the most motorcyclists take really good care of their motorcycle. They love it. It lives in a garage. It doesn't get to, it isn't exposed to the elements except when they're on it, riding it around. So the artwork typically lasts a good long time. Now, if they're building a show bike and they want this thing to be the most elaborate thing that you can ever, those are the guys that will bury the artwork underneath a clear coat, 18 coats of clear coat to make it look like a sheet of glass is laying on top of their motorcycle. But yeah, I'd say most people are just simply got their motorcycle to ride and they put artwork on it to make it stand out from the rest.
You talk a lot about, and I want to clear it because I think that's one of the things interesting. You get this art and your idea is it's living with you. So if it chips, it becomes part of the idea. If it gets a scratch or it gets wear on it, it kind of adds the character to it that like that's not a show bike. That's a real bike someone's using and is enjoying. So it's art that's being used and it's in the zone. And I think there's a metaphor there for how you've lived your life of, life is artful and it's not meant to really be under 18 coats of clear coat.
Yeah. Live your life. Do those things that you would, most people wait until the last minute and put it on their bucket list. Do them now. That's what you got it for.
Well, exactly. You only get so much. You talk about some of your public speaking about dealing with loss and turning that into something that could be positive and energetic to fuel the future. Can you take a few minutes because everyone goes through something and it's how you handle it, which is what's usually the determiner. And some things are horrible for some people and their burden to carry is much higher than others. But talk about your mindset and how you talk to crowds and people to inspire them.
I've received benefit as the result of recovery from alcoholism. And what that did was it gave me the gift of a shift in perception. I mentioned earlier that I grew up in a frustrating situation. Well, for years, I would tell the story. And every time I told the story, I was the victim in the story. But once I had the shift in perception, I could tell the story with the same episodes in it, but the way that I was explaining it, these were challenges that gave me an opportunity for personal growth. And what I've discovered as the result of not only personal recovery, but especially with working with others, is that our history is flexible. We can take those same episodes that continue to provide us with trauma. And once we have that, we call it in the recovery community a turnaround. When we have a turnaround, that's when we begin to view it completely differently. And all of a sudden, it becomes one of our greatest assets. And that's what drives me today to help other people. I want other people to get this delivery from those chains of the past so that they can also wake up exuberant in the morning, eager for the new day and finding out what it is that's my purpose for being here today.
What happens when people feel like they have no purpose? Like, they're like they've succumb to suburbia and family and kids, and it's the same, like, you wake up and it's Friday, and you wake up again and it's Friday again, and like I've been through those kind of phases, and it's something. How do you break that mold?
There are a lot of people that learn that stuff as children. As we're growing up, we learn that the thing to do is to be practical and go find something that has a sensible direction that's going to bring you a reward that you can predict. And those are the ones that get into what I call the gears of industry or the office or any kind of thing. And they get bored because what they're doing is they're simply a gear in the machine, and they're just doing the over and over and over. And they're the ones that they instead of being in the moment and embracing everything that's taking place right now, they're the ones watching the clock, dreaming about someday when they get to go do something. And that's part of the reason I wrote this book. I wrote this book for people who just don't have the gumption to get off the couch because there's something holding them back. And it's usually some sort of belief that they adopted when they were, when their dad was trying to guide them into a practical way to live their lives. And it's not all of the, I guess I'm very fortunate because of my career as an artist. An artist has to continue to just play all the time. The nature of creativity is just playing all the time. And I've had the luxury of being a creative artist my whole career, in a lot of different fields. And I consider my speaking engagements as another creative outlet for me to express myself artistically, even though I'm talking to the crowd. Yeah, definitely. So what I encourage is play.
Well, I was going back to is that, you have these tiebacks when you're a child of, of creativity, and you're in the moment. And I can remember how fun it was to play with toys because you were that Star Wars character. You were in that moment. You were that whatever, Lego, whatever. Yeah. And I only remember thinking that was so, like, I only know the loss of that ability to be in that moment. And you're not going to get that back as an adult, but you can in reality, though, get it back that you're experiencing something that you never thought you would do. And it's exhilarating. Like, and listen, that doesn't mean you go quit your job and you like, but you should be living life in between. You should, and part of our mission at Never Been Promoted, right, is to get people to stop waiting to be what they want to be. And for me, entrepreneurship was a path out to break the mold to be something else. And it's, I don't think it stops there. I think what else happens? Is it speaking next? Is it this? Is that? And it's hard. And you're going to feel every emotion hourly at times. And I'm sure you have, where you're like, I love this life. I hate this life. I can't do this. I wish I had that. And that's like the first 15 minutes of your morning, right? Until you've had coffee. And you go outside, you got some sun on you, you go see a mountain, you're going to go speak at some place. You're like, you get the paycheck that you get. And then you're like, I could have gotten that sitting on my ass for 9 to 5 in a cube rotting away. Yeah. It's all good. And right. And so maybe talk about that a bit from just your own journeys or working with people or people you've met who've broken that mold and what that did for them.
Definitely. Yeah. Break out of that mold. I think you were referring to the mindset as a child. When you go to first grade class and you ask all the students, who here is an artist? Every hand goes up. But by the time you get to the 6th grade, you ask the same question to the same group of children, there's only about 4 or 5 hands that go up.
Yeah, and there's like 4 or 5 that make fun of those kids. And so there's that problem too, right? There's you like art, you sing. We have creativity in our house as well. And it that middle school age is when childhood dies because kids kill it. Other kids kill it, in my opinion. Yeah. You can no longer be who you want to be because of social norms, what's cool, whatever else. And I see that happening in childhood. I see that happening in college. I see that happening when you first start working, when you become a boss. Parts of who you were are lost to productivity, if you will. They're lost to social standards. Maybe take a few minutes and talk about breaking that, because you've done that. I'm sure you've had to repeat it, reinvent yourself. You said, you don't drink anymore. As for someone who's about 8 days away from 1 year, didn't go through a program. I just said, I'm done with it. I'm bored with it. I just cold turkey. Yeah. My idea was I listened to a book, and they said, if you don't have the first one, you don't ever have to. So I just stop. I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
My idea was this, and listen, if you want to drink, people, great, go do it. I'm not judging. I felt as soon as I wanted to take the edge off, I lost my edge.
Okay.
And I don't want to have that. I like having my edge, and I think that's a better place to be. So my point is, how in the world can you get it back? How, from what you've learned and what you teach and what you talk about, how do you get it back? How far back can we go back to that second grade? I'm an artist. How can we do it?
It has more to do with what you discover you have to get rid of than it does learning what it is that you need to accumulate, because it's typically belief systems that we adopted, just exactly like you were talking about. The third graders are they're responding to the social pressure from others to conform or be acceptable, or wear high fashion t-shirts or something. It's
or full ties,
or a complete tie. Yeah. So it has more to do with uncovering what we got to discard. We got things that we got to throw away. That those belief systems, like when mom and dad are introducing us to the concept of being responsible, and why don't you be more like your brother, and all this other weird stuff, instead of allowing us to continue to be an individual.
What's a universal belief that you think is absolutely false?
That's absolutely false. Well,
let's focus on America. And what's an American belief system that you think is a lie?
A typical belief system that I think is a lie is that we have to conform to certain standards in order to become worthwhile and acceptable. And that's simply not true. We are individuals. Every one of us has been made differently. God loves us just the way he made us, and he gave us gifts. And when we start to use them the way that God wants us to use them, then all of a sudden we are in a unique position to not only enlighten and empower others, but especially to possibly help deliver them from the things that are keeping them stuck.
Yeah. It blows me away, right? Is being able to create art, right? So maybe sing, maybe play any instrument, draw, whatever it is. It's absolutely a pre-wired, you can call it a God-given gift. You can call it a pre-wired DNA gift. It is something that you cannot, we're artists who are very good, whatever their field is. I could never train to that level where they begin. I could get better at drawing. I could get better at singing. I could get better at playing an instrument, but I could never pick up a guitar and be like, oh, that's how that works. The amount of training it would take would be a lifetime to get where people who know it and feel it just start, if not beyond. And the fact that gets absolutely smashed in our modern world, where there's almost like no monetary value for the most part put to it, because it's so hard to make it as an artist in any of the respects. And you've smashed through that. And I don't know if that was by luck or just grit or effort. I don't care. This is what I'm doing, and it's my brand, and letterfly.com is available, and I'm buying it. My point is, how did you break through? Because so many people give up on that, and that becomes something they're going to do later when they're made money in it. To talk through that, because I don't get how you break through that ever.
I think that part of the life situation that I was born into, I mentioned to you earlier that it was frustrating because of my older brother who produced bizarre behavior. That actually gave me, even though it was traumatic and I responded to it by withdrawing, I ended up withdrawing into creativity and became probably a workaholic. I have been driven my whole life. When I was a little kid, I was big enough to see out of the car. I saw the pinstriping on the other automobiles, and I had the thought, I could do that. And when I got home, I proceeded to decorate my wagon and my bicycle. And then the next thing you know, the other kids in the neighborhood are seeing what I'm doing. They want me to do something for them. And I'd go, well, yeah, I could do that for you. And I was thinking, why don't they just do it themselves? And I think now that I look back, that particular frustrating situation that I was born into is part of what allowed me to become great. So was it a bad situation to be born into all of a sudden? Now that there's a shift in perception? No, it's not. That's part of what allowed me to become great.
You know, it's funny. So many artists have such a, like, and if you want to get into it, you've teased it a couple of times. What was it your brother was doing? Because now you got me hooked in. I'm like, what was going on? What was the odd behaviors your brother was doing?
He had motor skills and he had a bizarre intellect. And they'd had no name for it at the time, but today it's known as Asperger's, which is a high functioning form of autism. He's a brilliant guy. He's up in the upper 1/10 of a percentile of the intelligence quotient on the planet. He's brilliant, but he's got no social skills. And he was so brilliant. The kids that were teasing him on the way to school and stuff, he would just compose rebuttal on the spot that would just continue to infuriate the kids that were teasing him, you know, and I saw no sense in that, you know, but he
different times too, like just like it's just different times. And you fast forward, 40 or years from now or so, whatever, there's things we're doing now that's exactly happening the same, the understanding of it. And not to dwell on that, because I think what I find is, and you see this in a lot of successful artists that figure out the business component, because for whatever reason in art school, that's not taught. And like, I'd always tell an artist, if you want to become a professional artist, go to business school, because you already have the art part covered. And then when you get done with business school, figure out which artists you need to study and apply those business things that you hate doing, or at least understand it, because then you could actually make a living at it. But if you just focus on the art and never do the business, you're not going to get to do the art, because you're not going to make enough money to do it. So I don't know if that's good sound advice or not, but I'm telling my kids who have some kind of inclination for art, I'm like, learn the business first, learn how to be an entrepreneur. And then you're going to already have this innate ability. You'll be able to develop very quickly, because your starting levels are off the charts. So what's your advice to an artist that or somebody who's an artist who's young, but most people who listen to this are like, 30s, 40s, starting to hate their job because they've never been promoted. What do you tell them to bring back that artist? Well, how do you get them out?
The secret that I've discovered was I was simply driven to the point where I was unstoppable. And it's interesting. You said the thing to do is to accumulate a business sense because you've already got, well, I never did do that. I was just so driven to create. And I was always looking for an avenue or an arena that I had never excelled in, just for a challenge. I'd go to the theater and paint giant sceneries. And then I was a sign painter for a period. And at one point in that career, I became obsessed with making signs the way they made them 200 years ago on plate glass with all kinds of effects and gold leaf and stuff. And then I'd do that for a while. And then I just move on to the next exciting challenge. So I've never been, my career did not look like success. It just looked incredible. And then at the very end, now in my golden years, I'm making an incredible living. Like you said before, I'm not a starving artist anymore.
It's funny. What you just described is actually the same path of every entrepreneur that's successful. Is that So if we were playing a video game, you got popped out legendary, and you had already your starting spot on the idea of the pivot was already there. You didn't have to train up or use some of your skill points toward it. It was already like, oh, I gotta rotate to something else that makes money, and you just kind of kept doing that until you found the thing that made you lots of money, that made you happy, and you're like, oh, this is the legendary zone right here.
And sometimes it wasn't because of something that I decided or I figured out or something. It was some aspect of the current graphic environment, like when the computer came out in the middle 80s to take over the sign painting business. That changed that whole game. So I had to find something else, and then that worked. It worked putting airbrushed murals on motorhomes for 20 years until technology came up with computer assisted paint mask systems and digital printed wraps, and that just put the airbrush artist out of business.
But your bike idea, right? People do that because you do it, and you're the brand. Like, that's a Letterfly design. Like you become branded. Like, you can't buy a wrap for that. You can buy something that looks like it, but if you want the guy to come out, he shows up on his bike and goes and does it. And that's a whole different market where, like if you have a bike club or something, hey, can you come do our bikes for us? That would be, I can't imagine that doesn't happen for you, but like you show up and you do 10 bikes over a week or two, or how long it takes. And they're like, we got all these done, so we match, or it's a, husband, wife kind of thing. And I could see like this being like a way to, like, like you said, the bikers care about so much about their bike, and the motorists that that's not the motorhome group. They're going to throw that thing away. The bike, they're going to try to keep that thing for a long time. Right. And they want to make it theirs. That's part of that whole, your base model for a bike is probably 1/5 of the cost. Customization is the other 4/5. Like, so, I love that. I mean, that's fantastic. And you didn't discover, and I think the lesson here is you didn't discover that day one after running away and joining a circus. You discover that over a lifetime of experience.
Evolving. Yeah. Evolution. Because at the end of the motorhome career, I had been invited by the men that owned the Harley-Davidson dealerships, who were building the upscale brick and mortar facilities that we have today. And they wanted giant murals in their buildings. So that's really it was a serendipity. It was a happy accident going to the modern facility and then meeting the individuals who had motorcycles. And they said, hey, would you come out to the parking lot and look at my bike? And that's where I figured it out. And so today I have a route of Harley-Davidson stores. I'm at a different Harley store every week for 7 months.
And pretty much when you show up there, people sign up to get their bike done. They pay you the money to do it. And that's awesome. Yeah, I love it. You get to see the world. You get to see the world doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Do you look back and go, damn it, why did I do this 30 years ago?
No, I don't do anything. I don't do anything like that, because 30 years ago I was having a blast.
Like whatever I was doing back then, they told me I had a great time.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of it, except I remember I had a great time and occasionally broke up in a case of handcuffs. Look, fast forward a year. I ask this question sometimes, and you're a year ahead now, and you're reflecting back on the year you're about to have, next 12 months. It's August 2025. What has happened over this last year now, the future, right, that you're most proud of?
I've got 6 books published. I spend a vacation in Portugal riding the most incredible horses in the world, and I have I'm a speaker in demand to inspire audiences of all kinds, in addition to continuing to serve my motorcycling customers at Harley-Davidson stores. Yeah, definitely. I love what I do. There's no reason for me to not keep. I've got a friend I just visited him 2 days ago. He'll be 87 in next month. Last year, he said, Dave, when my dad turned 85, he quit painting signs. And the first thing that happened was he lost the dexterity in his hands. So I am not going to quit painting signs. And he's still very active, very creative, and he's just a dynamo. And it pretty much gave me a premonition or what do you call it? An intuitive clue in regards to what it is that I'm going to be doing as I move forward through my 70s and into my 80s.
It will, exactly. So one thing is, I believe some science backs this up, but I've heard this, and I've heard this from, hundreds of entrepreneurs every month. And I will tell you, the ones that have gotten back into entrepreneurship is because they retired. And after the 1 year of travel and taking off and playing golf and gaining 30 pounds, they're like, my brain was dying. I didn't feel like purpose. I didn't feel like connected. Yeah, the relaxation's good, but I am just bored, and I can feel myself getting away. And then what happens is a friend dies of a heart attack 2 years after, this other person retires, and now they can't paint, and they can't because they let something go, or and the idea, I think when I said I stopped drinking, it wasn't because I had a problem. It's because I think the last 10 years of my life are going to be better because of it. If I don't, I'll be sharper. I'll have more motor skills. And I think if you think about that in your own sense of, you're spot on. And I think as advice to any entrepreneurs, you're not going to stop. So get this idea of retirement out of your head. Just find something that makes you happy, that makes you money. That little Venn diagram: happy, capable, money. Whatever's in the middle of that's what you should be chasing right now.
Yeah, definitely. I like to refer to what Clint Eastwood said. He's in his 90s, and somebody said, "Hey, how come you're 90s, whatever your age is, and you're still making movies? What's the secret?" And he says, "Well, when I wake up in the morning, I don't let the old man get up." And that's pretty much the mindset that I maintain. I don't think about how it is to be the age that I am today. I'm focused on what I can accomplish with where I am today, and how I have a goal every day. I want to make 3 people laugh, and I want to piss 1 person off.
Wow.
And that's like a daily goal.
If you're married, that could be 1 person, by the way, for the whole thing. I just want you to be clear. Like that one. Sorry.
You could make her happy 3 times and then piss her off once. Okay.
All 3 different personalities based on what I've done that pissed her off. One new one will pop up, and then I got to make that one laugh. She'd kill me if she listens right now. I'm going to get smacked when she gets home. So, and that means I made 1 person angry. Mission accomplished.
There you go.
Hey, I'm following his advice, honey. All right, Dave. Who hires you for speaking? So this is kind of like your call to action, right? So they can go to letterfly.com and they can get a hold. I'm sorry, DaveLetterfly.com to get a hold of you. But who is the ideal place where you go speak, like to hire you to come speak?
I'm a member of Toastmasters, so that network is introducing me to other places. I'm a perfect fit at like an artists guild, because I'm like the perfect guy to poke fun at artists, in front of a room full of artists. And I've been invited to the National Women's Riding Convention. It's Stilettos on Steel. I've been invited to their big convention next June. And I'm already preparing a speech to give to that group, and that'd be a group of women. And there are other perfect fits for me also. So most of the network, naturally, since I'm rubbing elbows with bikers all the time, I speak at some of the hog rally get-togethers that they have, and then even little membership meetings at the different dealerships, and then naturally with my AA community, I'm always speaking in front of those. Yeah, definitely.
I think I was going to show this to you. So go to DaveLetterfly.com. Here, let me bring up that banner real quick a second. And here I was going to present that.
And
so you guys can see the book.
And that's where you can get a free download of this book, Hit the Road and Thrive. There it is. Adventure awaits you. And this is a guidebook, and it's mostly about the mindset of not only an entrepreneur, but especially a way of going about discovering not only adventure, but especially success with a different mindset while you are. And it's also a benefit for people who never intend to leave their living room. It'll also have some valuable insights that will benefit those listeners also. So go to daveletterfly.com, and there's a place to put your email address, and we will send you the manuscript as a Word file, and you'll get to read it right away. Hit the road and thrive.
I love it.
Definitely.
Final question for you really is what was your what was your main role in the circus? You had multiple ones, you can go through it, but what was the one you were known for?
Probably the best known. I was a dancing horse. I had dancing horses. I made 3. They're called high school horses, meaning a horse that's schooled to the highest level. And in the course of 30 years, I made 3 dancing horses. So, and with my third horse, I actually won the talent competition at the Sarasota International Circus Festival in 1989, I believe.
So you on the horse while it's dancing?
Yeah, I'm riding the horse, and the horse is doing the different classical horsemanship moves.
Okay, but you're not like doing a Chippendales like routine on top of it or something where you're like, ripping off.
No. That's a different form of horsemanship. This is the more dignified. This is the kind of entertainment that's considered appropriate for royalty.
I'm just clarifying, people don't think this guy was like gripping on top of a horse and that was dancing, or like the horse itself like grabs onto a gold pole and starts spinning around it. No. There's like actual form of equestrian type. See,
yeah, classic.
I have to make one guy laugh today. I didn't do it on the other show, so I have to get you to giggle a little bit.
Well, go ahead, make them laugh.
It's your rule, not my rule. I don't try to make anyone laugh. I just ask questions.
All right.
Dave, thank you for coming on today. This is an inspiring story. I love it as and there's way more to your story, and I think if you could listen to his book or read the book and listen to Dave speak, because it's not all positive, right? There's plenty of ups and downs and hate and loves and all the things that come in between and loss. And I think if someone Googles you, they'll see a lot of that. And some of my research that I was kind of looking up, get ready for our stuff, I was like, man, you got it all packed in there and a lot more to go. So I appreciate you so much. I do mean it sincerely. Thank you so much for coming into to the show.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. DaveLetterfly.com. I put that up there again. Or if you need your bike, listen, get the book at DaveLetterfly.com, just like it sounds. But Letterfly.com, if you want to see some of his work, like, I don't ride bikes because I've never been on a motorcycle. I have no intention to ever go on a motorcycle. I know I'll lay that thing down. Like, this is why I don't never go skiing, because I'd see the moguls. I'm like, F it, first day, let's go for it. Like, that's just my mindset says, stay away from things that end up hitting trees. That's my thinking.
Yeah.
But check out his you got some really cool stuff on Letterfly.com as well. Dave, thank you. I want to put you in the periwinkle room. I'll be back. And I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you everyone who listened today. And for our show, we go live quite a bit. And Dave Letterfly, Knoderer with the K, but just Google Letterfly. That's how you find him, because that's how he's known. And man, this guy, he's got an interesting background. Very, very cool stuff. If you get a chance, if you're a bike, if you ride some machines like that, get your bike done by his, find when he's going to be in your town and get it done. It's pretty cool stuff. There's a beauty in the simplicity and in what he does. So just check it out. Thank you guys for listening. Get out there, go unleash your entrepreneur, cut ties, the things that hold you back, things you think, the way you think, the things you assume to be true or have always been told true, challenge it. The worst you'll find is that you were right. And if you found out you were wrong, you got a whole new world ahead of you to go do that. But thank you so much. Till next time, go unleash your entrepreneur.
Thank you for listening to the Never Been Promoted podcast. If you liked today's show, subscribe at youtube.com/@neverbeenpromoted. Until next time, get out there and go unleash your inner entrepreneur.
Thanks again to InstantlyRelevant.com for producing the show, all the social media, all the content, posts, articles, everything. Could not do it without you. InstantlyRelevant.com. Check it out. They're awesome. Once again, InstantlyRelevant.com.